Welcome to the Paths We Take podcast. I'm your host, Jordan DeSange. Let's hit a path. This episode is brought to you by Cova House Running. Now, I founded Cova House Running and this company because I found the running scene was getting a bit fuzzy. I think things are getting lost in the whole running world, and I really wanted to build a business and build a brand that honed in on just running. I think running has come a long way in the last couple of years, and we all do it for different reasons, and that's what this brand is about. It is about representing every runner, and not just the fast runner, not just the elite runner, not just the runner that can run the longest. Running is such a big part of a lot of people's lives, and everybody does it for a different reason. Whether you are a road runner, whether you are a trail runner, whether you run in high rocks or another sport, running is for everybody. So you can visit kova.house, KOVA.HAUS to shop now. The full men's origin collection is out now, and the women's collection will be out early next year, 2027. We are also going to be dropping the Stay Strong Run collaboration, where proceeds to this shirt will go to Breakthrough Foundation, and this will be a unisex shirt. Thank you all. Welcome to the studio, and thanks for coming on. We were just having a bit of a conversation, but if you don't mind, the first thing that I ask everybody on the Paths We Take is, if the person listening had an autobiography right in front of them right now, what do you think are some cliff notes that they would read in that story?
Yeah, I reckon we could probably go with like single words. Okay. One of them would be resilience. Uh-huh. So just a bit of background on that. My physical, mental, emotional resilience, one of my big takes throughout a certain period of my life has been adversity and dealing with adversity. So in particular, physical adversity. So I've had 4 knee reconstructions. I've had another surgery on my knee as well. Very surgery driven on my knees. Yeah. And that would probably be one of the biggest takeaways of my life so far, is actually being able to understand adversity and using that as a strength. Yeah. Because I think that given some circumstances that have occurred with me throughout my life, whether it's family stuff, whether it's own personal stuff, whether it's business stuff, I kind of lean back on that resilience and being able to be persistent to continue to just keep going at it. So another one would probably be persistent as well, resilience, persistent. I even spoke about the honesty and transparency too. So like the honesty and transparency, they're 2 of my biggest values. One of the things that I say is I can't read your mind. So if there's something that you want to ask me, if there's a question that you have, like there's no point in being afraid. Ask that question. Yeah. Have that conversation with me, because it's not like I'm going to bite. Don't get upset. Yeah. Unless it's a question where we aren't really not necessarily looking for an answer, but maybe looking for perspective. Like I want you to look at something from a different angle. I look at you right now so I can see, and this is something I've really been honing in on lately, is like, I look at your perspective right now. I can see 2 eyes, a nose and a mouth. But as soon as you turn on the side, I see 1 eye, I see a nose. I don't know, are you smiling? But now I can see that you've got, like, maybe you've got a ponytail, you've got something. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So like, it's being able to shift perspective back and forth and actually understanding how you can look at something from a different perspective, right? A problem, a situation, whatever it is. So honesty, transparency, persistence, perspective, and then resilience, they would probably be like the 5 things that I would love for people to sort of think of if they were reading my autobiography. Because they're things that I really sort of lean into and try and live to as well, whether it's family or business, whatever that aspect is, I really try to navigate myself towards that.
And they don't just come one day, right? Like those skills that you mentioned are not just something that you wake up and, oh, I'm resilient all of a sudden. Like, I think it's a learnt behavior throughout however long, really. And everybody has a different story and a different, experience with resilience and honesty and, the skills that you mentioned, because I think for some, it might take years. For others, it might take a month, really, to build that skill. When it comes to maybe going back to resilience, because I always find that quite interesting, especially in the space. I know we'll get into what you've done in the past and what you're getting into, but also I think it's just a skill overall that a lot of people are wanting to build today. I think we live in such a different world, and resilience is something that, is something that I think comes up again and again. You know, you need to be resilient to survive this or survive that or whatever it might be. So for you, what are some key moments that you think have taught you resilience?
As far as I'm concerned, and I really agree that I think resilience is years upon years upon years. Like, it's been 15 years since my first reconstruction. I'm 17, had the world at my feet. We could even probably go back a step further, to be completely honest. When I was in high school, I was playing as part of the institute, so South Australian Sports Institute. I was 14 at the time. Had a great season, did really well, relatively well. I was quite happy with it. It came to going around for the next time around, and the way that it used to work back in the day is you would have your trainings and your trials, and more than likely you would be making yourself into the next year, and you would go again, because they'd see no reason, unless it was kind of like some sort of misconduct or something like that, they would pull you through again. Anyway, everyone had received their acceptance letters, and I remember being at school, and back when you had your old Nokia, you would just be flicking text messages back and forth, and I was just like going to the toilet quickly to to speak with like my mum and my dad. Have you heard anything yet? Have you heard anything yet? No. And I remember the day that I texted my mum, have you heard anything? And she said, no. But she had received something. So she'd received a letter from them 3 weeks after all trials had finished for all other clubs. So there was nowhere for me to go. Didn't have anywhere to play. I remember getting home, opening up the letter, read the letter, and it said, you haven't been accepted in. And for a 14-year-old kid, like, it was pretty heartbreaking, because it's kind of gutless, to be completely honest. I look back at it now, and I think about the person who was the one choosing what he was doing. He's no longer in the country. He's actually been deported back to where he came from, so I don't have to think about him anymore. But it was a moment in my life where I remember what I did with that opportunity, because at the end of the day, I think it's an opportunity, right? And I think back to it now, and I think that's actually a pretty mature thing for me to do. But I remember my mum asking me, it's like, do you want to keep it or get rid of it? I said, no, we'll keep it. And my mum asked me, she's like, you reckon we should get it framed or laminated? And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. So stick it up in my room. So I remember laminating this letter, A4 piece of paper, and just stuck it in my room. And that was the first moment where I used adversity as an opportunity to be able to build my resilience. That's the first thing that sticks in my brain. Now from there, that's probably the first mental or emotional resilience builder, we'll call it. Then from there, I had my ACL reconstructions. So I had one when I was 17. That was tough and a challenge. I had my next one when I was 19. At the time, I was with the Adelaide United youth team. I remember jostling for the ball, stepped in a ditch, bang, pop. I knew what had happened. Then after that, I had a workplace accident. I accidentally jabbed myself with a paint scraper. So I sliced through my medial ligament right through to the bone. I think it was maybe a millimeter or two was left. So they had to re-stitch the ligament back on again. Went in for emergency surgery. Almost died on the operating table. So they thought. I had, at the time, I was incredibly fit. So I was super fit. My resting heart rate dropped to below 40s. So it was I got into the operating theatre. And they didn't realize that. They probably should have known. On the way to the hospital, the paramedic had a real concerned look on her face, and my heart rate just started dropping and dropping and dropping. And she was like, and she looked concerned. So I started looking concerned. I'm like, is everything okay? She's like, no, it's all good. And then the machine started beeping. And I'm like, are you sure? She said, no. Just we think that you're going into cardiac arrest. And my heart just like shot back up again. I'm like, okay, all right, no, we're cool. And anyway, I'm in the operating theatre, and they thought that that's what was happening, because it dropped 36, kept dropping. But it was just because I was quite fit. So, which was a nice compliment, but yeah, it scared the shit out of me. And then after that, 2020, I ruptured my third ACL. I went in for surgery. The surgeon I had at the time was awesome. Matt Hutchinson, he's finally back practicing. I just want to make mention to Matt, because he was incredible for me. Yeah, for that reconstruction. He was one of the only surgeons that I saw that just laid everything out on the table. So we had, there were 5, basically he gave me 5 options at that time, at that point in time. Couldn't do 2 of them. He wouldn't do one, couldn't do the other one because I had no hamstrings left. So they take I'm not going to bore everyone, but they take the hamstring as a graft, blah, blah, blah. But he gave me all these options, and then we ended up not doing any of those options, which was cool. So we took the ruptured graft out and we used what he called cadaver putty and filled my bones up with, so that the tunnels, so I did a tunnel revision, filled the tunnels up so then they could go back in and do a reconstruction. It's similar to a reconstruction. That's why sometimes I say 3.5 reconstructions, but I just say it's a 4th. Went back in, did that, but I didn't go in and get the ACL replaced. So I was playing with no ACL. When I went back, I actually went back and played soccer against his advice. I'll put that out there too. So went back and played, and then my 2 weeks after coming back, severely mismanaged, ended up training, playing 330 odd minutes in 2 weeks. A game of football on soccer is 90 minutes. So do the maths. My first game back was a cup semi-final, which went to penalties. So I played the whole way through, and that was pretty crazy. Came back to training, was playing a game in training, collided with someone, my shin dislocated and popped back in. So I had a tibial dislocation because there was no ACL to sort of stop it from moving. It was 4 weeks off, came back again, then played probably 5 weeks. My knee just blew out one of the games. That was it. The end, finished, see you later. And then 14 months ago, I reckon it was April. I think it was April last year. So maybe a little bit longer. I think it was just before then, March. I was playing spike ball on the basketball courts. Finished the sport, finished playing with one of my clients, went to go turn and go put it away, and I took a step, and as my leg was swinging through the air, everything just went bang. And so tore 85% of my cartilage, had to go in and actually have the reconstruction now. So yeah, that big period of my life so far, so from 17 to last year when I was 31 and a bit, there's been a lot of physical trauma, but I think taking that physical trauma and turning it into that mental and emotional opportunity to build resilience has been absolutely massive for me. So there's been a lot to do with my knees, and it's not just which we'll probably talk about a little bit more, but it's not just the injuries that have allowed me to find that place, but they've definitely been a big driver.
Yeah, because I think it's interesting linking that physical trauma, especially in sport and injury, because I think like for people out there listening that might not play sport or might not have that relationship with sport, it can be quite devastating because, I think you put a lot in sport, you get a lot from it, and for it to be suddenly done, really, for an X amount of period, let's say an athlete goes through rehab or whatever, it is quite devastating. And then, that's where that mental link comes into play as well. I've always found that relationship quite interesting because I've never really, until I've had a major injury, maybe 3 years ago it was now, I've never really had that feeling of it being taken away, right? So for me, all of those physical injuries were maybe a minor inconvenience, but it was never physical enough for it to affect the mental state, really. What do you think your mental space was throughout those knee injuries? Because I think everybody handles it, some people are like, oh, it is what it is, and others it's devastating, really. Yeah. For you, what was that?
Each time there was kind of like I want to say there was a different focus. Not knowingly, but it just happened. So the first time was obvious devastation because it's like I went from it being told to me from the trainer at the club, oh, it's only going to be 6 to 8 weeks. And then I go to the physio and the physio says, oh, no, it's only going to be 10 to 12 weeks because it looks like it's been a knee cap dislocation. Then I go to the surgeon who did the exact same tests on all of them and then had the scans, and he's like, no, you've done your ACL. And so for 4 weeks there, I was building up to, it'll be fine. And then to get told you've ruptured your ACL, and at that time I had no idea what the hell an ACL was. I'm 17 years old. I was in year 12, school captain. It was great. It was awesome. Had the world on my feet. It felt fantastic. Football was going really, really well, and then boom, it's gone. Yeah. So for me, devastation, it really hit me quite hard because you don't know what to do with something that you've never had before. That was the first one. The second one was completely different. I ruptured it, and I remember as soon as I ruptured my ACL, my parents were in Queensland. I called them up. I could drive home, so it was okay because of my left leg, so I could drive home. So I drove home, and I called Dad on the way home and said, "Dad, just want to let you know I've ruptured my ACL. I'm fine, everything's okay, but I just wanted to let you know." And he's like, "Oh, can I swear on this? I can't swear." Oh, fuck. Okay. All right. Okay. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. It'll be all good. So that period there, that second one, I was dialed in. Like, I was locked in because I've done this before. This is going to be easy. Piece of cake. And not that it was a piece of cake, but 6-month return. ACL is usually 9 to 12 months. A lot has changed since then, obviously, as well, but it was a 6-month return. I did everything to the T. I was up early, 5 a.m., got to the pool by 5:30, did what I had to do, went to the gym straight afterwards. From the gym, went to work. From work, went to soccer, did what I had to do at soccer. So I'd jump on the bike, I'd do everything. And it was meticulous. And I remember the coach at the time, I wasn't even playing. And he made mention to me being like, this kid's coming here every single training session, doing more, doing extra, blah, blah, blah. Like, we got to take a little bit from that. And I was playing in the senior level here as well. So for those that playing along or listening along at home, Sanford level is head of footy. You've got NPL, which is head of soccer. So I was playing at the top level in soccer. I was 19 at the time, I think it was. So yeah, I'd come back and was training and was working really, really hard. That was great. The third one, it was probably a little bit more of like a kick in the nuts. My wife now, girlfriend at the time, her cousin actually ruptured my, was part of the was part of the reason why I ruptured my my third ACL, and the family had actually come to watch the game. It took 52 seconds, so it was 52. No, that was the second time actually. It was a minute, just over a minute. I was shooting the ball out, and he kind of like jumped on my back and pushed me towards the fence, trying to go for the ball. It's not. There's no malice or anything like that. And so it was fine. He was just as devastated that I was, which I think is okay now, so it's all right. But and then I remember having done it, and that one there is that one that lives in my head quite a bit because there's footage of it, so I can replay it again and again and again. And I remember the scream, like I remember the yell. It's pretty. It does bring back a lot, but yeah, it's pretty full on, pretty intense. So yeah, I lived through that. That one there was a little bit different because it was me starting the journey of what I'm doing currently. So I had just started what I was doing probably 3 years prior to that, and then I ended up sort of. It was almost like the two paths had sort of diverged almost, right? And then I hit that stage and I started sort of wondering, let's just picture 2 cups, right? We've got 2 cups. I started filling up that cup a little bit more and the soccer club sort of kind of less, but it was still hanging there. And then the tibial dislocation occurred. I'm like, no, I can keep doing this. So I'd come back again. So it's kind of like you get knocked down, you get back up again. You get knocked down, you get back up again. I think that there's a lot of resilience that comes with that, and there is a big lesson in that. And just keep getting up and going, But then I also think, what's the reason why you're doing what you're doing? Like, are you just going to keep getting up and like maybe you got to pivot and shift and change perspective, right? So you look at it from a different angle now. Okay, now I can see it from a different angle. Maybe I can go down this road. And so I started going down that road. I stopped playing soccer. What was devastating for me, which I would realize later, and I realize it now, is I always wanted my children to be able to watch me play because it's something that I saw and I grew up with, and I'm never really going to be able to have that. Now, for me, that's kind of like a little bit more of the ego stuff, but it did hurt knowing that, and it does hurt knowing that my wife, who does so much for me, my daughter, who's amazing, and I can't show her that. I can take her to the games and I can get her experience that way, but I would have loved for her to be able to see that. Now just let that go. Now I have to let that go, right? So that's just more of an acceptance thing. And then the final time that I did my knee, so skip the one where I jabbed myself with a paint scraper, but the final one that I did last year, that really taught me process. So it taught me the things that I actually need to do in each set section of maybe an ACL reconstruction, or maybe from a programming perspective, or maybe just understanding the nuances and the details to the way that things sort of work and how you do things. So that's what that taught me. And each single time, each single one, like I said, there was a lesson involved in all of it. Now, there probably were multiple lessons, but there was like an overarching sort of like theme, if you will, of when you do your knee, you can expect this to happen. Or when you do your knee, you can expect, or have an injury or whatever. In the second ACL, just backstepping, one of the things that I did, which I think back to it now, and I'm like, I don't know where the fuck I thought of this from, but you would go to the news agency, and they would sell like these big sort of like A3 pieces of paper that were stuck together, and you would just sort of like rip them, and they would be the page. They were these big pieces of paper. I had between 6 and 8 pieces of paper just stuck on my ceiling, and I would write on my pieces of paper, okay, I am strong. I am this, and I actually had them. So every time I'd wake up in the morning, the first thing that I would see would be this piece of paper on the roof. Now I think back to that, I'm like, what the fuck was I doing that for? Like, but how powerful was it? Like, it was super, super powerful. My mum is a big advocate for that sort of stuff. And, you know, sometimes she can be a little bit woo-woo on that. But for me, it was just like, that made a lot of sense in that moment and in that time. And maybe it was the reason why I actually was able to progress so quickly and so well, because I couldn't believe how quick I was getting back, how fast I was doing things. And my left leg is super strong. My right leg is super strong as well, but that's had a little bit more trauma than what my left side has had. So yeah, that was another little thing. It's like, I don't know why I did it, but I did.
It sounds like it goes back to that persistence too, right? Like if you have that reoccurring reminder every day, it makes that persistence journey a bit more. And, you know, going back to what you're mentioning about that purpose, I think that's quite important as well, especially when we go back to, you know, the devastation of not being able to maybe play and have your kids be seen, right? I think like if you have that purpose, and sometimes that purpose shifts, right? And it sounds like for you had that other journey come up along the way, really. And I'd like to get into that, but I know that's a very common thing and a reason why a lot of, I think, athletes, you know, when they're at the maybe sub-elite, elite level and it's done, don't have, you know, that drive going forwards or that next thing, because they don't exactly have that purpose there, or they don't really have that, okay, well, what am I going to do after, right? Like, I think you can have multiple things going on and multiple purposes, and I think that's quite important in sport. This episode is also brought to you by the Stay Strong Run Project. You can visit staystrongrun.com.au to learn more, but basically in March, I will be running 2 marathons every day for 7 straight days. That is nearly 600 kilometers for the Breakthrough Foundation Mental Health Research. You can head to my Instagram to learn more. You can learn more about my story there, about my story with depression, with suicide, and the reason why I am doing this. I want to demonstrate that you can continue, you can keep going no matter how hard life gets, no matter how hard things get, no matter how much your body is telling you to stop, your mind is telling you to stop, you can keep going and you can stay strong. So again, you can visit staystrongrun.com.au to learn more. You can also head there to donate if you'd like, or to reach out to me personally if you have a story that you want to share to get off your chest, or if you can get involved in any way. I am looking for support crew for the entire 7 days, as well as help leading up. I cannot do this alone. So you can reach out to me on the website. My contact info is there as well. And that is the Stay Strong Run Project. Thank you. It sounds like you mentioned that, you know, you had that second journey pop up along the way. Was that because of this, or did that just naturally happen? Like,
So I went into working at a CrossFit gym, and I left school. Yeah. I remember when I left school, I had a chat with my mum and dad, and I'm like, I'm not going to uni. Like, there is no chance you can get me going to uni. I just spent the better half of year 12 trying to figure out what the hell was going on with my life. I want to do that stuff. And so I never went to uni, never did anything like that. I went and worked full-time at a sports store. It was epic. I loved it. It was relaxing. I was just earning money and then coming back and playing soccer and enjoying myself again. Yeah. Then I played for youth team at Adelaide United. That was great. Then ruptured my ACL. I got to a point where I had to do something. I'm a qualified massage therapist as well. So I did my massage course while I'd done my second knee. So I'd just done it and went in and started doing what I had to do for the massage course and that. So that sort of kept me busy. And then I started going down that path and that route. And I started training with a guy out of a CrossFit gym, Rob Schultz. And he was great for me because that was the first time that I actually started physical training, like in a gym. I tried to do it for my other reconstructions, but it always felt clunky. Like I didn't really know what I was doing. And this wasn't rehab per se. This was more so performance stuff. So we were doing a lot of different things. And I really enjoyed it. And then it got to the point where I spoke with the gym owner, and she said, yeah, we're looking for someone to come and work with our CrossFit for Kids. And I'm like, yeah, cool, sign me up. I think having worked with children was the best thing that I ever did, because if you can communicate something to a 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old and they understand it, I'm pretty sure you can communicate to absolutely anyone. So then I did that, and I started getting into that at the same time as I was still playing. I really found the business side of things quite challenging, because you're not taught that sort of stuff, and especially when you're working for yourself, you have to find things out yourself and work to it yourself, right? I was doing so many different jobs. I reckon there was a period in my life where I was working probably 4 jobs. I was a delivery driver. I was bartending. I was doing the stuff at the gym for my own self, and then as a coach as well. I was obviously playing soccer, so I was getting paid to do that too. Like there was a number of different things going on in my life. Was I working them all full time? No, but it was just like constantly putting on these different hats. And then it just started like unraveling from there, and I started getting a lot more involved and invested, and new opportunities popped up, and COVID happened. So you had to pivot and you had to change, do this and do something else. And I like to think I'm pretty adaptable. Like Blake calls me, he called me a chameleon. Like I can really like just morph into an environment and be okay with it. And I can kind of just like put myself in an environment and almost it be seamless. So that's something that I without pumping my own tires up, but that's something I'm quite good at, is just finding myself in an environment, being almost like I've been part of the environment for decades. And then I can kind of pull myself out and then put myself in somewhere else. So it's kind of like this ability to move and morph really well. And all of it's genuine as well. It's not like I'm just doing it. Like I go in, I want to be able to work, I want to be able to help, I want to be able to do what I can do to support and progress through. But yeah, I've found that sort of journey and that path happened then, and I just had to sort of like make these. And I made plenty of mistakes along the way. Like as you can imagine, I'm sure a lot of people on the podcast have spoken about it. A lot of people in life, like the mistakes are, yes, they're mistakes. And for one thing that I do is I always try to own up to my mistakes. If I fuck up, like I put my hand up and I say, I apologize. I didn't mean it this way. Or maybe I did, and I apologize that it did happen that way, because I never intended anything that was ill thought of, But then, yeah, we progressed through, and now it's the business side of things for me that I'm really enjoying. I'm really loving the coaching. So working at a peak performance, there's an awesome environment there. Sean and Jamie have created a really cool networking hub in there, and performance hub. You got people that are there. Dave from Quantum Performance, he helped me out with my last reconstruction and has really been such an awesome, not just awesome physio, but an awesome mate for me. I got heaps of other people that are there. A lot of the other coaches are fantastic. There's so much that's there now that I'm so thankful for and so grateful for, and it's sort of just set me up the way of my life as well, right? Like I've even got with my family, with my wife and my daughter, and then my wife's pregnant, 36-week pregnant, and like we've just got all this stuff that's happening. And although it's chaos, it's freaking awesome. Like it is freaking awesome. So there's a lot going on, but it's so good. It's so good.
I'm a big believer, though, that like testing out multiple avenues sets you up a lot better in the long run than maybe a linear path. Like I think from what I've heard on the podcast, myself personally as well, like quite similarly, have worked 5 jobs at the same time in the past, like have done things and like 5 jobs that were nothing alike as well, right? But I think I can take something from every single job. Being a server, you do have to have good customer service skills. You do have to be good at communication, listening. Back in Vancouver, when you're working for tips and stuff like that, like you got to be on.
I don't know how you guys do it, man. I don't know.
You got to be 100% on. So like that, I can definitely now as a physio, like you can definitely take things from that. And when I was a PT, like you can take things from that, because in physio school you don't learn a lot about exercise and that kind of stuff. Like you take something, and I think like that's the problem with sometimes going through phases. Like sometimes you can, a job is a job to a lot of people and they just go through the motions, but I really believe that if you take what you can from a situation, then it does set you up for success in that long run. For you, when it comes to, where you are at now, you were speaking about off-air relationships and, being quite thankful for the relationships and the relationships that you have surrounding you. What is that like? Like, what do you think you take and you give when it comes to the relationships and the successes that you have? Because I think it's quite important. Like, I think it's very hard to do things by ourselves these days, and you have to be good at taking, but then also you have to be good at, okay, what can I offer really? What's that balance like for you?
I think it's the age-old saying: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. My wife is incredibly supportive of me. My family, my mum, my dad, my brother, my sister, the family unit that we have, they are all incredibly supportive of me and have been incredibly supportive of me for such a long period of time. My initially, I don't say this enough, and I'm glad that I get the opportunity. I'm so thankful I get the opportunity to say it to however many people listen to the podcast. But my wife does so much for me that I know I have previously taken it for granted. I get home, meals are cooked, and they are so good. They are so tasty. Florence, my daughter, she's taken care of. She's 3.5 years old, and she's the ability to be able to communicate with people blows my mind. And that is from my wife, Ruby, being a teacher and being a fantastic teacher, being able to help guide her. I don't have those external stresses. The only external stress that I have is I need to do everything in my power to be able to support my direct family, whether that's Ruby, whether that's Florence, whether that's my mum and my dad, whether that's my brother and my sister, whether that's people who are in my direct circle. I want to be able to do whatever I can to support them. And you talk about that give, we'll call it the give and the take. Ruby's ability to be able to give me a home that is loving, that is caring, that is supportive. I was up at 3:45 this morning. The morning before that, I was up at 3:15. Ruby hadn't slept a wink, because baby and belly growing, all that sort of stuff. She wasn't sleeping at all, and her continuous ability to be able to support me has just been unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. So to be able to have people like that in my life, who are constantly there, who support me, who guide me, who tell me it's not always. It's not always lovey-dovey, and it is obviously, but there's certain moments where it's, no, you need to do this, do it, and that's that sort of criticism. I get the same thing from people at Peak. When Blake and I have these conversations, we are pretty open and honest to each other. It's like, why are you doing that for? Why do that? Oh, because of this. Well, what about this? If you ever think about this, it's that perspective thing again, right? It's looking at it from a different lens. Oh, yeah, okay, that I didn't think of that, but that makes sense. I like the way that you're thinking. Let's go down there. Or you got to stop wasting your time. What are you doing? Or you got to change what you're doing in your life. Just be upfront, be brutally honest, and just you're not there to upset anyone. You're there because you want to be able to for the betterment of others, right? The support that I receive from not just my family, they're the people who hold closest to me, because they are who are closest to me. But even the people that I spend most of my day with, right, in the environment that I'm in, they teach me so much. They teach me so much. Sometimes it's things that I don't want, and sometimes it is things that I do want. And it's like, it's just picking and choosing in between, not getting locked in on one specific thing, going like, I don't really want that, I don't want that, and you just focus on that one thing and you hone in on that. It's like you got to have that flexibility, that mental flexibility to be able to go, okay, let's go through. Okay, I don't want that, leave that. Yep, I like what's going on over here. I'm going to move over here. And like I said before, with Sean and Jamie, I mean, I rocked up to them. I went and had a conversation with Sean, and I remember this as clear as day. We went upstairs at the old Peak 1.0, and my words to him, which I think back now were fucking crazy. I said, my ability to be able to program and do things from the physical perspective, absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. I don't think I think out of everyone here, I would be at the bottom of the list in terms of being able to program and understand programming. But you get me in a room full of people to be able to bring people together, to be able to have conversations, to be able to create an environment, and I'll far surpass everyone in that room. I don't even know them, but I know that that's something I can do. And I think back, I'm like, why did I say that for? Maybe it was because I was in that fight or flight where if this doesn't work out, well, that's it. I'm just going to go on labor with my dad, and we're just going to call it a day, and that's it. But then obviously it all worked out, and Sean really trusted me and gave me the opportunity. And with adversity does come opportunity. I think that's always the case. And I think that always will be the case. It just depends how you look at it, what lens are you looking at it from. So yeah, the relationships that I've developed and the people that I've been able to connect with have provided me with countless opportunities, whether it's my family, whether it's people in the environment that I surround myself with at Peak, or even when I'm at Sturt Footy Club. So I'm head strength and conditioning coach at Sturt Footy Club. And thank you to Blake as well, who he allowed me to come and assist for what was about, I think it was about 8 months, 7 months. So I went out and assisted. I don't know how I found the time, but I did. I managed to find the time to go out, assist Blake for about 8 to 10 hours a week last year. And that led me into now being in the role and working with them now, which has been incredible, like absolutely incredible. So it's all about those opportunities that you find along the way with the relationships that you build with people. Yeah. They give you that opportunity, and it's always there. I think those types of things are always there. You just got to make sure you got the right lens on you, looking at the right thing. Yeah.
I think too, like putting into perspective, like I think we're very hard on ourselves, and like, you know, going into that conversation with Sean, it sounds like, oh, you mentioned, oh, why did I say that? I think that's though a skill that, like, those soft skills, communication, you know, the skills that you mentioned are something that it's often the reverse. You know, people will go into a situation with those quote unquote uni skills, being able to program, being able to do all of that kind of stuff. But I'm a big believer that that means nothing really at the end of the day. You know, as someone who supervises a bunch of students, I see that all the time. I see the textbook answer. I see, you know, you're very good at giving me what the right answer is technically, but like, are you able to communicate that to the client? Are you able to, you know, tell me why or clinical reason a little bit more? I think those are the skills that people often lack. And a successful person, I think a lot of the time, is not necessarily the one that is good at their job. It's the one that, you know, presents to be good at their job and then just makes everything work, or maybe has the team around them to make everything work, really. And it sounds like you were that opposite direction, really. Because I think, like, again, like, I think that's something that is very hard to learn, really. Like,
Oh, sorry to cut you off. I had so it's really funny that you say that, because when I joke about this quite a bit, but when I was at Sturt, I was having a chat with some of the players and with a couple of the staff members there. And I often say to them, I'm like, I got no idea what I'm fucking doing, but whatever I'm doing is working, you know? So just keep on doing what you're doing. I think that we're continually learning and we're continually adapting to our surroundings. Because if you think that you've got the answer to everything, something's going to present itself and you're not going to know. And I think that's just the way that it is. Yeah. So even on the job right now with things that I'm doing, like I I flourish in opportunities where it's like you got to sink or swim. And at the end of the day, unless you're dead, you're treading water still, right? So you're never really sinking. That's the only time you're going to be sinking is when you're dead. But the thing that sits in my brain is you always never 100% know. There's always like a real little small detail or a little nuance that isn't entirely going to be correct, right? And so when I have these conversations with people, it's like I must be doing something right, because I've still got no idea what I'm actually doing. But hey, listen, what we're doing and the research that I'm doing and the way that I'm trying to provide a space for you and provide an environment and create something, because my goal at the end of the day for Sturt, as an example, is to do everything I possibly can to be able to get them to another premiership. And whatever that looks like, whether it's being able to keep the players in unison, whether it's me making sure that players are fit and healthy, whether it's me, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well, whether it's me wrapping my arm around someone, whether it's me having a conversation with someone, whether it's me being able to work with the medical staff or the senior coach, like, and that's one environment, right? Then you've got the peak environment, then you've got the at-home environment, then you might have friends, and like there's all these different things. And just being able to know that you don't know, and I'm absolutely fine with that, I think is just like, you kind of feel relaxed, because like there's no expectation of you to know, because there's so many nuances to everything. So yeah, sorry to cut you off, but that's something that just like, that really sits in my head.
I think like that's, again, for you listening right now, that's something that you've probably heard in the past as well. Like I think that's what most business owners go through, really. Like I think not knowing what you're doing is just such a common thing in this space. You know, I've talked to some of Adelaide's, or even you could say Australia's most successful business owners on this podcast, and they've said the same thing. I have no clue. I've had no clue what I'm doing, and you just got to take it, you know, one day at a time, really. And I think like that is inspiring in a sense, because like I think when you think of, like, I've in the past thought of, oh, you know, how am I going to start a business? How am I going to do this? Like, I don't have this skill. I don't have that skill. But, you know, to hear somebody say, oh, well, I had no clue, you know, I didn't go to business school or whatever. Like, it just makes things a bit less daunting starting, really. And that's the hardest thing, I think, is starting something. When it comes to business now, what do you think sport helped you with? Because I think there are a lot of correlations between sport, between business. What do you think that correlation for you was?
I think that when I first got into the industry in terms of strength and conditioning, and one of the things that's really, really cool is when you're at peak, and you have a uni student that's coming in, and you're coaching and you're talking with them about all the things that you've done or you're doing or where you're going, or working at Sturt, or having the opportunity to work with Adelaide United or work with all these awesome organizations. And they ask you, like, so what have you studied? What have you done? And I'm currently studying my Bachelor of Exercise and Sports Science at Flinders Uni. And I say, I've just got a PT course, and the rest of it's experience. And they're like, and you can see the look on their face, just go, what? That doesn't make sense. What do you mean? And so when I preach to, so I work at Peak, I assist with the peak education. So they're really trying to be able to give opportunities to schools to experience that industry understanding of what it looks like. And this is going back to your question, by the way. But when you speak with students and they go, oh, you didn't go to uni to do something like this, that's awesome. Okay. But there's like a flip side of the coin where you understand when I'm playing, there's a sort of a two-parter, but I was playing with a good friend of mine, a good teammate of mine, who we didn't end up finishing at the same, like he's still playing, I obviously am not, but we were starting in the same team. And then he left and went one way, I left and went the other way. And 5 years later, we came back and joined the same team. And so what's interesting looking at it from that perspective is like, he can go off and do his own thing. I can go off and do my own thing, but we can still somehow end up at the exact same spot, at the exact same time. So it's like, I think you got to go and find your own groove. So that's one area. The other area is when I got my first position as a strength and conditioning coach at Metro Stars, I had a personal training qualification, and that's it. And what I did is I went into the coach And I asked him, I said, I heard you're looking for a strength and conditioning coach. It's like, oh yeah, you know someone? I'm like, yep, me. I just back myself in. And I think that's what sport teaches you, is that when you get an opportunity to play, you need to back yourself in and just go, yep, whatever I need to do, however I need to get it done, I just need to do it. And that's it. And you focus on one or two things and you just hone in on that. And so for me, I walked into what was not a meeting. I just went in and spoke with him. And I said, I can do what you need me to do. And to have that line of confidence and go, okay, cool, let's go. And then you just got to put in the dog hours. Recently I've been working on something for like an extension of my own business. I have put in the last month and a half, so the last 6 weeks, I want to say I've put in probably and this is probably less, but I put in about 150 hours into building this on top of working, on top of family, on top of everything else. So it's been a hell of a lot of hours, and we're training for another run with Breakthrough. So I have been doing aiming to get, and I've been pretty consistent, maybe missed out 2 days a week, but my aim has been to get 20,000 steps a day of purpose walking. It helped me out with the last one. I had 3 weeks to train last time, and I did 30,000 steps. I was averaging 30,000 steps a day. I've kind of worked it out that, so it was 155,609 or 906, I can't remember which way it is, to do the 120 Ks that we did in January this year. So I've kind of worked out that average, that it's 0.77, which means it's going to take me about 217 or 210,000 steps to do a 100 miler, which we're going to do in January. So for me, I'm just trying to build my capacity up that way, and then I'll start doing my running and all that sort of stuff. But I'm working on I've called it the performance benchmark, and the dog hours that you just got to do, and you got to get it done. I don't think there's any other way around it. You just got to lock in and you got to do it. And when you find something that you can grab hold of and you go, this is awesome, and I'm actually enjoying this, and I put a lot of time and effort into it, and I want this to succeed, you find a way to do it. Yeah, like I haven't worked on it today. Actually, no, I worked on it for about 20 minutes this morning because one of my clients cancelled and slept in, phone didn't go off, he didn't put it on charge. And so I'm like, bang, I'm going to go there and go and work on it. Yeah. But you just find these hours. So like tonight, I'll be up working away. Ruby won't be happy, but I'll be, because she want to cuddle and want to talk about, what's going on. What are we going to call our child when it's born? It's going to be a boy or a girl, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. So like, you got to try and balance those things. But yeah, the dog hours is probably a third one as well. It's like you got to put in the hard work. Like there's no way around it. And whatever the hard work is to you, it's not about long hours. Maybe it's about being a little bit smarter. Utilizing AI, being able to utilize it in a way that's going to be efficient for you, right? So within that, there's a couple of things. I think we all kind of end up at where we're supposed to be, going and doing our own thing. You got to put in the dog hours as well, but you also got to be efficient at what you do too, and you just got to back yourself in. Like back yourself in, no matter what it is, back yourself in, and you'll find that there'll be an opportunity, or there'll be a point in your life where you back yourself in because you've got no other way out. And your back's up against the wall. You just got to go, okay, yep, I just got to go. You can't concede.
I think nothing these days is handed to you. Like I think everybody that wants something and that has something has made it happen. And, like your example there, like, you don't have to, like, yeah, you do need to make sacrifices, but like, you don't need to sacrifice the entire world to make something happen, right? Like you put in the dog hours, you put in the work, but I think too, like it gets confused all the time. Like you have a baby coming up and like you're still putting in those hours. Like people are getting confused. Oh, I can't start something because I don't have 150 hours to put in, right? Like I think if you wanted to,
I don't either, but
that's the thing, right? Like I think if you wanted to, you would. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I think that's where the confusion is. Like I always love having this conversation on business itself, because I think the hardest thing is starting, and I think we're all quite quick to, oh, this is X, Y, and Z, why I can't do something, right? Instead of rewiring that, instead of thinking in a different way, okay, well, can I maybe on my commute to work, like put in the hours or whatever it might be, really. So living in Australia, you definitely need a good pair of sunnies. You need a good pair of sunnies during the winter, during the summer. It doesn't really matter because the sun can be shining any time of the year here. I wear Reor Run sunnies just because they are clear, they are bounce free, they are stylish, and they are intended for running. So you can, of course, wear them whenever, really. But I think finding a good running sunny is very hard to find because sometimes they fog up. Sometimes you're running and they start moving, bouncing around your face. Sometimes you have to take them off of your face because you go through a shady area or whatever it might be. The thing about Reor Run sunnies is they are made for running. So again, they don't move when you run. They adapt to the lights that you go through. So if you are going through a shady part, if you are going into bright sun, the lenses adapt to the changes of light, which is awesome. You don't need to flick them on and off of your face. And they look great, they feel great, and they are durable. So definitely visit reorrun.com.au and you can use Jordan10, the code, to save some money on there as well. Thank you, Reor Run, for supporting this episode, and definitely check them out if you have time. You hit some interesting things. For the listener right now listening that doesn't know what you did in January, maybe talk about that.
Yeah. This was pretty cool. It was probably one of the coolest physical feats of my life. So me personally, having done something, Blake Ashby and I, Bash Performance, you've had on the podcast before, I was sitting down one day and talking about a fundraiser that I wanted to do. I had no idea why I wanted to do the fundraiser. I just got this idea and I'm like, I want to do a fundraiser. And he walked over to the bench. He's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to just want to do a fundraiser. Like, oh, you want to link up? We'll do it together. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. No worries. And we decided this at the end of November. And then we decided to, this was the first one, by the way. So we'd done one beforehand, the 5x5x55. So we had a little bit more time to prepare for it. Then we did this one again. And this was started December, I think it was, that we decided to do it in January, because the last one we did was end of January, start of February, I think it was. It was the year before that. So this one here is like, we should probably do something about it. I'm like, yeah, we should. What do you reckon we should do? And we both agreed that every hour on the hour we'd run the 5K loop of Peak. Now we ran it, and I walked maybe one or two of them as well. I walked them with some people that I really wanted to be able to help them through. And this was for the Breakthrough Foundation. We had 3 weeks to prepare for 120Ks, which was epic. It was so cool. And this is where I got the walking idea. I'm thinking in my head, how can I build tolerance without running, because my body and my knees wouldn't like it, and I had shin splints at the time as well. How could I do it? And so I landed on, well, why don't I just walk? I'll just walk, because that's going to be a similar pace at what I'll be doing. And you wouldn't believe it, but it actually really helped. Sure, the concussive load and the eccentric loading on my body wasn't exactly where it needed to be, but I was able to get through 120Ks. So every hour on the hour, we started on the Saturday, we finished on the Sunday. We ran the 5K loop around Peak for 24 hours, 120Ks total. When I say that I was in the part of pain that it's coming back to me. I'm starting to get shivers, but the part of pain when the sun went down. So everybody hated me. They hated me because from when we started until about 10 o'clock at nighttime, so that was probably just over 12 and a bit hours, I was right as rain. I felt like I could just keep going. If the sun was still up, I reckon I would have just kept running. As soon as the sun went down, it was just doing these ones. I was knackered, absolutely dead. And then that's when Blake came alive. So it's kind of interesting. It's like a yin and a yang, right? I am definitely the sun. He's definitely the moon. But that's just, it's a cool little dynamic that we got going on. I think that's why we work so well together. In any case, we ran that 5K loop 24 times around the round, get 120 kilometers. We ended up raising, I think it was almost 8.5K, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. I can't remember exactly. And so we did that in January with 3 weeks prep, which was sick. It was sick. It was hard. I ran with my daughter as well. I pushed her in the pram for one of them too. it was so cool. It was so cool. I had people walk with me and people do some runs and all that. But it was awesome. It was awesome. And we're looking at doing one again this year, the 100 miler. We're going to have a little bit of a spin on it. I don't know how much Blake said, so I'm not going to say too much, but I'm going to say that we are going to be going for a Guinness World Record. So we're going to see what we can do with that, which is cool, just in a specific sort of way that we're doing it.
Yeah.
We've got another one coming up in January. Yeah. We're actually taking this one a little bit more serious.
Yeah. How are you tackling it then this time?
Yeah. So I'm doing, usually by now I've hit my 20,000 step goal. I'm at 9,196, so I've got a long way to go. But I'll get it. I'll get it. And if I don't, I'll probably just go for a run or a walk or whatever afterwards and just try and accumulate as much as possible. But my goal is to accumulate steps again. So be a little bit more consistent with what I'm doing. I work when I have a break for an hour and a half, 2 hours. I go to the furthest treadmill at peak. I plug my laptop in because the battery is always this close from dying. And I sit there for the longest I've been on there previously was 2 hours just on the treadmill. And I just walk at about 4.5, 5. Okay. Sometimes I pump up the incline just to change the positioning. And also get like hip flexors, ankles, knees, just in that different position, but just building tolerance and building load. That's how I'm preparing for this one. And then what I am doing is starting to slowly include some runs. So the week just passed, did my first long run, went for a 10K, felt cherry ripe, real good. So it was fine. That's how I'm preparing for this one. And it's gonna be interesting. Maybe, who knows? It might work. It might not work. I did for the last one, but maybe I was already fitter than what I was. Although in saying that, I got stern warning from Dave after I just had that reconstruction and said, "You're not doing any more stupid fundraisers." And then I went around 120 Ks, and he walked one with me, and he's like, "Mate, I don't know how the fuck you're doing it, but you are." So I think that, and I woke up with sore quads. But besides that, no stress fractures, no tears, nothing. There was probably 2 or 3 of them that walked into the gym the next day. 2 of them had a moon boot on. One of them, their knee was dead for I don't know how long. So it's pretty cool that I can do what I can do given what has happened to me. Yeah. So that's how we're preparing for this one, and that's sort of what we did previously.
When it comes to then training for this, when it comes to business, when it comes to fitting it all in, really, what is your recipe? How do you fit it all in? Because that's another thing I think that comes up is, we all don't have the same 24 hours, or we do, or whatever it might be. What's your recipe, I guess?
I'm a very, I'd like to think so anyway. I'm very kind of off the cuff kind of guy. So like, we can call it like probably a sprinkle, maybe a little bit more than a sprinkle of ADHD, where like I don't really focus on one specific thing. And if I got a chance to do it, I'll do it then. So I'll go there and then I'll do that. And oh crap, I got to do that. And it's funny because Ruby says the same thing. She's like, don't start jumping between. Like I'll jump onto my phone because I have to look at my calendar. And literally at the time that I do it, a text message pops up from someone who I need to text. And so I go and text them, and then I go and check something else. And I have to look at Instagram for a second because I just wanted to see what's happened. And then she's like, "You're gonna come? Don't get distracted. Like we're here. Stay here." She hates that. In terms of a recipe, like I think it's even how I cook too. Like, which is hardly ever. Just so I know. So Ruby, if you do listen to it, I know. Okay, but mine is like just keep it simple. Like I could eat steak and eggs for the rest of my life. I could eat eggs for the rest of my life if I wanted to. Just keep it simple. However, whatever that looks like, however simple I can keep it, then just do that. I don't really work well when it's like when there's structure. I don't work well when it's structure. It's chaotic structure, and I like to think that if someone comes and asks me a question, most times I will try and give them the best possible answer. But if I don't know, I'll be like, well, listen, I don't know, but I can go and find out for you. Yeah. And then once my brain's done its thing and it's had its ADHD moment, it'll just go full circle and come back, and then I'll find the answer for them. But most times it's like the recipe, it's kind of like how my grandparents cooked. It's like, what are you following? Oh, it's just in my head. How much salt do you put in? Oh, just that much. How much is that much? Do you know? So like, it's kind of a bit of trial and error with a lot of things. Yeah. And I'm absolutely fine. And I think that it is something that a lot more people can really try. It's like, just be fine with fucking up or getting it wrong. Like it's fine. I'm not saying that I've got everything figured out, because I don't. Like, and I don't think that, I think that if people say that they have it all figured out, they haven't. Yeah. And there's a lot of people, a lot of, I think, professional or high-end business owners that are feeling exactly the same way, right? Like it's not too uncommon to think or feel this way. I think you could probably agree with that too. And I reckon most of the listeners could probably think and agree with that too. But be okay with not knowing. Be okay with just trying something and stuffing up. Be okay with putting yourself in a position where you don't know and where you don't 100% trust yourself, because the only way you're going to find out is by trying it and potentially not doing it. And if you back yourself in, like I said, if you do back yourself in, you go, nah, there is no other opportunity that I have to make this work, it'll happen. Have that trust, have that faith. Ruby hates that. Yeah. She really doesn't like that. She's like, no, you gotta have, she's leaning into it a little bit more now. Actually, I will say that. But previous, she's like, how can you be okay with not knowing? Yeah. How can you be okay with not doing this? And it drove her mad. I think I'm slowly cracking her, but I don't
there
know.
You go. Yeah. I think like that's why I liked asking this question, because everybody gives a different answer. Like I don't think there is a recipe, really. I think like you have your chocolate chip cookie and there's 100 recipes for that, cookie. Like I think everybody does it. As somebody who has been diagnosed with ADHD, like I similar, I guess, to you, but a little bit more chaotic, is I am a last minute person. Unless I have something coming up tomorrow, it's not getting done. And I might have my list of 100 things that I'm doing, but I'm doing it 20 minutes here and then 5 minutes at another thing. And yeah, I'm bouncing back. Like I talked off air this morning. I've been all around Adelaide because I have deadlines tomorrow and this and that. And it wouldn't have gotten done yesterday or the day. It's just how I work, really. And I think for some people, like my parents hate that. I know growing up, going through school and everything, my mom hated it. Like, you're leaving everything to the last minute.
Do you think people find it hard? Like they do find it hard to understand?
Absolutely.
But it works for you, right?
But it works for me. Like I get everything that I need to get done, really. I have multiple things with my business, my career now going on, and I'm able to manage it all. Like it's just how my brain processes. And I think that's the interesting thing, is everybody has a different process. And I can understand, like, if something's not working, yeah, maybe you need to go back to the drawing board and figure out something, really. But for me, it works, really. Like I've gotten maybe 25% of one thing done today, 50% of another thing done today, but it'll all be done by the time I go to bed tonight. And that's just the way that it works for me, really. But that's what I like about that question is, yeah, everybody has a different recipe, really. What is a takeaway that you want to leave the listener with?
I knew this question was coming, but because I'm a last minute preparer, I didn't think about it. I like to think it's going to come to me. And usually it does. Like I think that where you are right now is exactly where you need to be. That's what I'm going to leave. Yeah. Where you are right now is exactly where you need to be. All right. Because there's always something around the corner that you don't know. Right. Yeah. So live in where you are, experience where you are. The good will pass, the bad will pass. Exactly where you are right now is where you need to be.
Love it. Let's leave it there. But I do want to ask, what are you wearing? Shoes?
Birkenstocks.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. For the training too?
Oh, I thought you meant right now.
No. Hey, perspective, eh?
I'm running in these. Sorry for training wise. Yep. We got a shout out Run DNA. Yeah. We got a free pair of the Super Blast. Sorry. No, the 2s back when we did it. Okay. And so I've been absolutely thrashing them. We got 2 pairs. Blake hooked us up with a pair, not from Run DNA, but from somewhere else. And then we got the ones from Run DNA. They hooked us up with quite a few, which was awesome. So I've just been thrashing them. I do need a new pair. So shout out ASICS. If you're doing a discount code or something like that, I'll happily take some. But I find that the Super Blast is super comfortable, because I know you're a runner as well. I'm assuming what you're wearing right now is what you usually hokers. So they know.
I have hundreds of different pairs, to be honest. Yeah. No, I've just transitioned to the 1080s New Balance.
Okay.
For like everyday runs, maybe long runs, more cushion stuff. Everybody hates me when I say this. I'm not a big fan of the Super Blast. Like,
Yeah, okay.
I find them just overhyped. I think for me, they weren't as amazing as I'm also a very lighter runner. So that's the thing too, is like I don't get a lot of the bounce that a lot of people describe they get from shoes.
Yeah.
Because my foot doesn't hit, of course, as hard really. And my stride is quite long as well. So yeah, like I don't mind the Super Blast, but I've just graduated from the Super Blast to the 1080s. But I wear a different pair of shoes like every day, basically,
okay.
depending on like the session that I have or whatever.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I'm a specific like person that sticks with a certain brand or whatever. For me, I'm more like what works really.
Yeah. Now, see, I'm the complete opposite.
Okay.
I'm significantly heavier on my stride. Like I have probably especially the plan is to figure out a pace for what we're going to be doing for the 100 miler, especially if we're going to do the world Guinness World Record. But I'll need to take shorter strides as well, more of them. Like the one thing that absolutely killed after doing the 120 Ks were my quads. Yeah. Like they were on fire. Yeah. They were absolutely on fire. And I'm much heavier in terms of probably running and also stature too. Like my hips, a dump truck of a booty, and my quads, it's just heavy. It is just heavy. So I've just found that the Super Blast, just the cushioning and then the rocker, I just feel like it was effortless, right? Like, and it worked really well. Yeah.
Shoes have come such a long way. There's so many options out there now. So that's the cool thing. But thanks for coming on the mic. Thanks for chatting with us today. And for you listening, thanks for tuning in. And where can people reach you, find you?
Yep. Instagram's best place. Cool. So at Coach Carly, COACHCAL 3 I's, III. That's the best place to reach me. I'm at peak literally 24/7 besides Sundays. Yeah. So I'm usually there when the sun comes up, and I'm still there when the sun goes down. And then I'm a big believer in if you want to know something, like just reach out. Yeah. You can find me at Sturt, find me at Peak, find me on Instagram. Please just reach out and I'd be more than happy to have a chat. So yeah.
Easy. And that'll be in the show notes for you listening, so you can definitely find all that there. But thanks for coming on.
Thanks again.